Okay, wanted to start a series in which I compare a generation of the EliteDesk 800 Mini to its follow-on generation. So we're going to start out with Gen 1 versus Gen 2. And I'm going to do things such as, talk about the processor, what it looks like on the inside, etc. So we'll start out showing the outside and the back of the ports, maybe even underneath, and kind of compare to see what we've got. So here we've got the G1, the one that started it all. On the back, we've got the two display ports. We've got a VGA. We've got 4 of the USB-C 3, USB A3, 1 gigabit network, the connector for the power, thumb screwed open, Wi-Fi antenna, bottom. In this particular one, I don't know if we can see it there. Get a little closer. It might be hard to zoom in, but it says here HP EliteDesk 800 G1 DM for essentially desktop mini business PC. So we knew that, hey, this isn't for the consumer. This is, this is real stuff. This is for the business. Labeling for the Windows. Let's see. Talking about the 19.5 for the voltage, 3.33 for amps, which is standard for all of them. On the front, we have for headphones and also microphone and 2 USB 3.0 ports. No USB-C on here. And of course, power. Side looks pretty much the same, nothing too exciting there. For the Gen 2, we'll look at the front. This is when they first started adding the USB-C. Same sort of normal USB ports, front as far as the headphone stuff, power. The bottom on this particular one, it had the same power indicator. This is also when they started putting in to the spec saying that it would be whether it was this actually says G2 Mini, so they use that terminology, and then they would put after it the wattage. So in this particular case is the 35 watt, which is kind of the standard versus the 65 and the additional fans, etc. Again, same, the 19.5. One nice thing, of course, with the minis is that if you've got one power supply, you got them all, because then you can kind of go around. Except, of course, for the 65 watt, you need the 90 watt power supply for that. On the back, we've got same USB ports, the 1 gigabit. This particular unit has a VGA. This is a changeable port here. This one's the, we've got 2, no, actually I lied, sorry. This one I've actually changed and put in HDMI. This VGA can't be changed, and then this is the display port. So a lot of times you would get 2 display ports in this position for the changeable expansion card, and then built in here. And that was one of the nice things with the G2 is that now if you wanted to, you could get a third different port. So here we have seeing from the backs together. This is the G1. I didn't mention before, but it looks like it's got a audio out on the G1. Very interesting. Everything else, as you look, looks pretty much the same. Even the positioning of some of the thumb screws, the Wi-Fi. It's always nice to know what the different models look like, because if you're looking at eBay, sometimes they have the wrong thing listed, but you'll be able to tell based on what you're seeing here. Hopefully they'll also show the bottom, but there's your USB-C that's critical. These are the, I guess you'd call the top chassis after I took them out. This has the information as to the fact that it's a G1DM. One thing I don't think I pointed out before, but this is the only one that ever, the G1, where it actually put the word Hewlett-Packard on the top like this. This one's kind of faded, but you can tell. And then same with this, it's got the information on the G2 Mini 35 watt. Occasionally, like the first one I ever bought, this internal one didn't match the unit. It said 65 watt. This I took off of the famous non-working parts only computer from my prior videos. Here we have them side by side, your G1, your G2. The G2, a lot of the features in it were pretty much mimicked further on. You've got your heat sink here. This is a fan that when you pop it up, you'll get your memory. You've got your SATA here. Underneath it, when you take out the cage, is where you'll get your M.2. It's got a SATA connector / power connector right here. The old G1, though, this whole thing is in essence a combination of a fan / heatsink. And underneath here is where you're going to find your M.2 slot. Likewise, in order to put your memory, you're going to have to take this thing off because that's, again, where the memory is. Oh, actually, I lied. I believe the memory's under here. No, but you see also the SATA connector. It's a lot different. It's more very traditional. If I pop this off, you'll actually see it's similar to a motherboard. Might be because they were trying to get these guys out and trying to reuse stuff they had from other machines. So let's take these off so you can see the differences. Okay, we've got the SATA removed. Both of them have 3 screws, 3 torque that go here and here. You'll notice this is a little different. The memory is right here, wherein the M.2, your memory sits right over here. If I take out the cage, similar but very different. I mean, these aren't really interchangeable. The screws are close, but as far as the setup, you can see the difference here. I believe on this particular one, if you take out these 2 screws, this piece will come out and then you can install a second fan, and that's on the 65 watt, have that second fan in this particular position. The G1 uses DDR3, where in the G2, 3, 4, 5 all use with different speeds, of course, but they all use DDR4. They both have their Wi-Fi right here. This is where you would have your M.2 on the G2, and underneath here is where you're going to find your M.2 for the G1. Okay, here we have it exposed. This is an example of what the heat sink would look like for the G2. You can see the G1, it's kind of like two sets of units. You've got screws here that hold down the fan, and then you've got your normal kind of what you call those pressure torque or whatever that hold down for the CPU. The G2 used a 6th generation Intel processor, wherein it was 4th generation for these. Both of them are 4-core, so that's good. But again, I believe the speed of the memory is different. I think these are like 1600 for the G1 and 2133 for the G2. You'll notice also while we have this here, this is one of those option boards. This is the one for the HDMI. So that allowed you to change that, wherein with the G1 it was, you kind of have to live with what you've got. The interesting place they put the lithium battery on the side here. They put the lithium battery here on the G2. What other types of very similar, but this overall design on the G2 seemed to go over well, and that in subsequent generations things will be changed and moved here and there, but this kind of overall layout the same. Right here on the G1 is where you would put your M.2 drive. They both supported, some sort of Intel graphics that was built into the chip and so forth, but nothing that you could do any probably screaming games on. Now, one question people might ask is, well, okay, what should I buy if I'm interested in getting one of these EliteDesk 800s, G1, G2. They're both comparable. This is probably going to find the G1 a little cheaper, obviously, because it's older. The G2 was kind of the one that really set the stage. I mean, G1 was the pioneer, and a lot of people like it because it's a little funkier to work on. But at the same time, maybe, people like that. For overall ease, though, the G2, not having to take all this stuff out just to, change stuff around is kind of nice. Although it is nice being able to get to the memory quickly. They both support SATA. They both support M.2. G1, in order to boot from the M.2, you have to watch one of my other videos, which shows how you patch the BIOS so that you can boot from it. But they both support. They both have Wi-Fi. You can, I believe, though, the most memory you can put on the G1 based on the processor is 16 gig, where you can get 32 on the G2, if that's important. I've run Proxmox and Virtual on both. I've run Windows on both. So again, it comes down to, what you can, if you want to, let's say you want to have a lot of them, a lot of mini PCs to do virtualizations, other sorts of things, and maybe you get a good deal on the G1. You might be able to find the processor cheaper, might be able to find your memory cheaper. So again, it comes down to it. Although any investment on here, if you want to start doing stuff with the later stuff, then a lot of these components aren't going to shift over unless, of course, they're your drives, that sort of thing. So kind of at the end of the day, I would probably if I saw two that were the same price, I'd probably go for the G2.